All right, not much of an intro. I know. I've got to work on that, but I didn't have a lot of time. A little bit of music, a little bit of graphic fun.
Right on.
So how's everybody doing this evening?
Doing really well.
Doing great. Wondering how my boy Tom Brady is doing during his homecoming game.
No Gronkowski tonight, right?
No,
I had a good football weekend too, man. College, pro. Took the family to monster trucks last night. Kids dug that. So yeah, it was a busy weekend, but it was a good one. Awesome. Now I get to cap it off with this.
Very. And speaking of caps, you have a very nice cap on this evening.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm a hat wearer, right? You wear the baseball cap, but I decided to change it up tonight. My grandfather, man, he wore hats his whole life, so I kind of in honor. I kind of kept that going. So yeah, I'll change it up this evening.
Very cool, man. I dig it.
Very nice. Well, hey, John, nice to have you on this evening.
Oh, thank you. I kind of a long time fan. I've tuned into all your shows, just not live, kind of given work and my two daughters' schedule. So you always, how do you say it? You kind of replaced Joe Rogan as my commute podcast. My 1 hour commute to and from work have been dueling dealers and a lot of fun art. So I appreciate everything you do.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Yeah. I'm glad you enjoy it. It's a labor of love. We all have a lot of fun doing this show, so it's I'm glad that other people appreciate it. Even if you can't watch it live, I've been told by a lot of people that that is their commute. They just they listen to the audio while they're driving into work or driving home from work. So whenever you can digest it, it's good for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Bill Cox, Joe Rogan, same difference.
Yeah. Well, not quite, but
Bill's gonna go Spotify exclusive.
Well, I've actually been looking into converting these things to strict podcasts so we can kind of maybe reach a broader audience, but I haven't gotten around to exploring that as much as I need to. But hopefully soon I'll be able to do that. I think it would be good just to have another way for people to watch, listen to the shows, participate in them, and so somewhere down the line, hopefully before the new year.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
And I got George is on Eranga. So
George is?
George, check that out.
Shout out to George Hodge, Jack the Radio Creatures. Can you see it? There you go. The boss. I just got it in yesterday. I love the shirt, man.
That's a nice fitted shirt too, man. You're looking a little swollen in it.
I ordered it in an extra small.
Oh man, that's what I do. Oh man, well, it's great to be back on a regular schedule on Sundays too. I know we had a few off before last week, but it's nice to kind of get back into the groove of things. And I know I've actually had a few people reach out to me late in the week who were asking about potentially being on future shows too. So it's always good to have people want to participate. And just like tonight, it's nice to have some of our alumni back and John as well. So Kahlil, I've kind of selected you to be the person to start us off this evening. And
okay, cool.
So I'm going to turn actually, I should put you in the hot seat right here. I should be down.
Yeah, this is more meant for conversation. So we'll go ahead and get going. So my topic I felt was pretty straightforward. It's something I've been thinking about. And I was talking with another collector recently. Bill, it's setting up your calf gallery, right? So I think I've heard things over the months and weeks on your show about this is what I do, or this is what I do. So I wanted to get the panelists' thoughts, as well as maybe some folks here on chat about, setting up your gallery, how you go about that process. Because for me, I'm thinking about, reshuffling things. So I guess I'll say for me, I kind of stick to very high level. I stick to company, DC, and then Marvel. And then I break up Marvel. I feel like it's been for me into like 80s when I was a kid, 90s, 2000s, 2010s. That's how I do it for the most part. But I'm like, a couple of them are getting kind of long, right? So I was thinking, I wanted to get your thoughts on how y'all set up yours. And also, if you visit somebody's gallery, what do you prefer in terms of how it's being set up, like to peruse it? What's the easiest way for you to get the most out of looking at a gallery, and I guess doing it in the most efficient way, least amount of time to see what you want to see?
Well, I'm the chaotic person. All of mine's in one folder.
Oh my gosh.
So if you come visit my gallery, you're just going to be inundated with all, yeah, I know, with all of the same stuff. I mean, so don't look to mine as an example of being organized, but it works for me. I may reorganize it at another point in time, but it was just a quick hit. Okay, put everything in there and go ahead and get it started. But if I'm going to somebody else's gallery, I do appreciate if they've got a folder for sale, especially if they have a for sale folder specifically. Yep. And then probably organized by, you know, Marvel, DC, or particular character, just depending upon, you know, what kind of collector they are. So that's kind of what I look for. I also think it's fun when people have descriptions. I don't have a ton in mind. I need to go back and do a lot more. I feel like I just need to take a week off from work and just organize my calf gallery. I swear it's what it would take to be updated and what it would take to put in all of the comments and all of the stories and things that I would want to about all of the different pieces I have.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah,
so
for me,
the moral of the story, do not look at Wonder Effing's Woman gallery for what to do, what not to do. She's there. She's there for you. Thanks, Jill. And
there's a lot like mine. Stop it.
Hey, I'm with Jill. I'll let John go, but yeah.
Yeah, so for me, kind of my focus mainly on the villains. So I try to group it based on kind of different universes. So X-Men, Fantastic Four, Batman, and kind of miscellaneous if I don't have a lot of pieces. I was kind of debating, should I list it by character, but then I run into issues when there's more than one villain in each page. So I kind of stuck with that. But like kind of Jill mentioned, I do appreciate it when I go to other people's galleries and I do see that for sale folder. And I think, you know, either the distinguishment between Marvel and DC or kind of breaking down different universes to kind of make it beneficial, because I'm mainly X-Men and Batman fan. So if I know to just click on that folder, that kind of is a shortcut for me to browse the art that I'm mainly focused with. Yeah.
Well, John, I did want to ask, you mentioned villains. Bill, I thought since John hasn't been on, maybe just 2 minutes on his quick origin story or what he likes about art. You mind?
Why did the word villains make you think about John's origin story?
I was going to ask that too. But...
That's John's gallery, man. Yeah, he likes the bad guys.
All right.
Yeah, so kind of similar to a lot of people's stories. I grew up reading comics in the late 80s, mainly my older brother's comics. And then in the early 90s, you know, with kind of Batman, Spider-Man, X-Men, the animated series, I started purchasing comics on my own, probably towards the mid and late 90s, and then probably took off a long hiatus from comics throughout college and med school. Then finally got back into it like in the late 2008, 2009. Not intense. I would probably buy an occasional trade paperback here and there. And then it was, I want to say, the New 52 with the Court of Owls and Uncanny X-Force with Rick Remender that kind of got me back into collecting. And then in 2013, I stumbled across the YouTube comic community. So it was basically a comic community where a lot of people would kind of place, show their stealth buys or CGC comics. And that's kind of when I started networking and getting to know a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then I started attending cons, got into sketch commissions. And then it was, I want to say 2015, a fellow collector, he's a CAF member too, James Kahlil or Jimmy C. I started seeing him post original art on his YouTube, you know, comic channel, and that kind of got me interested. So I finally took the dive in 2016 and bought my first original art page. And kind of what stood out to me, everybody says it's a one-to-one, but actually knowing that you kind of have the blueprint, the one copy that, you know, the penciler and inker, you know, put all their blood, sweat, and tears in, and was published over 1,000, you know, different copies. That really kind of resonated with me. In terms of the villains, you know, kind of growing up, watching different cartoons and movies, I always felt the villains played an important aspect with my favorite issues or episodes. Like a lot of people love Batman because Batman's rogue gallery is excellent. Kind of growing up with Transformers and G.I. Joe, my favorite episodes were like the ones with Storm Shadow or Serpentor or like Unicron and kind of the Devastator, all the villains kind of is what kind of drove the heroes to kind of reach their peak. So kind of similar to comics, I felt my favorite issues kind of focused around the villains. So that's kind of my brief origin story in a nutshell.
That's cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Plus, you come off as such a bad guy. Maybe you have that. Yeah. Go. Okay, JN80. That's your calf handle.
Yeah.
So, what is the significance of the 80? It can't be when you were born because you're such a young-looking man.
It actually is. I was born in 1980.
Okay. All right. Well, good for you.
I'm
Good
the
for
tail
you.
end of Generation X before the millennials. Yeah. I give
Cool.
my wife a hard time because she was born the year after, so she's technically a millennial, and I'm still Gen X. So
Yes.
I'm a 1980 baby too, John. So
awesome.
80. Well, Eranga, you and I share the last of the 70s, right?
Yeah, 79, brother.
79. That's right. Bill, you too, right?
1968.
68.
Sorry to say, yes, I'm 53.
All right.
So
All
there you go. I
right.
guess
Well,
we
you share that in
got
common
many
with John.
generations here.
Y'all look very young for your age.
Yeah,
I can't pull off that hair you do. That's for sure, man.
I was
don't
gonna
think
say,
Eranga
Bill looks
can
better
either.
than some 30-year-olds I know. So
Well, thank you. Thank you.
you're
very
doing
much.
something right.
It's
Okay, Eranga, I'm
great living.
gonna jump to you now as far as the galleries go. Someone did mention though up here about by artists. To be honest, artists I don't get because the links are on the bottom. Like the artists are there, so those already are de facto a way to look things up. So
I think
something-
Bill mentioned this on a previous convo. It was because I don't know how relatively new it is, but before that system was put in place, people had to make separate folders for artists. I think that's one reason why that's happening. Me personally, I'm kind of with Jill, man. Like up until like literally today, and I swear it's not because of your topic. Up until like, I don't know, like 1 o'clock today, I had one folder. It said commissions. Actually, I had two folders. That's a lie. The other one said for sale. So I had one commission that said folders, and it was just like, just dump everything in there. I mean, if someone wanted to see something by artist or like the artist, I mean, they could scroll down to the list of artists I have and kind of, see that. And then, I was sitting around today and I was like, all right, well, let me try to do something with this thing. So I just split it up into, like Cable, Mystique, Ghost Rider. Those are like three of my go-to commission requests. Yeah. So I made 3 independent folders, and I don't know how Bill feels about this. I love the confluence of events that led to this topic because, and people are kind of talking about it in the chat as well. Yeah. I'm goofing around with like HTML and stuff and playing with text sizes and adding pictures and stuff. Now that I'm making a folder, I was like, hey, let's go all the way. Does that affect, when people do that, does it goof up the things that happen for you behind the scenes?
Good question.
No, it really doesn't. I mean, I wish I had I think somebody mentioned putting a header in. I think Jason said that, a header graphic into their gallery. And it's something we've considered doing. I just think it would be a part of a redesign versus anything else. But no, it doesn't affect anything if you write your own HTML. We've kind of encouraged people to do that. Okay. That's really a throwback from the fact that, 18 and a half years ago when we started CAF, we just felt like leaving that as a text field, the introductions. And so people could write whatever they wanted. They could include an image if they could write their own HTML. And it will cause a problem when I go in there and actually maybe add a WYSIWYG editor. That's going to probably mess up your formatting. So the first time you go in and try to fix it, it's probably going to look like garbage. So it's something that I have a vision for how I'd want to change the header section of every CAF gallery, and like literally putting a little bit more of your information at the top, so that people know when they what they're looking at. Because a lot of people go to CAF and don't really understand what it is. And I think without having a clear signifier that you're in Kahlil's, CAF gallery, that this is their artwork, that people just go there and I get emails every day from people saying, asking about buying artwork or something like that, because they think it's mine. They don't quite understand that this is a gallery oriented site. So defining that right at the top of every page in your CAF gallery is really, really needed. So that's something that, when I get to that point, that will be a part of it. But as far as mucking around in the HTML, no, that's not really a problem at all. But I would say this, because this is something that I had somebody email me, they were very angry and wanted me to delete their account and said something about protecting their privacy. And they said, well, you shouldn't show our names on the site. And I said, well, we don't, if you changed your profile. And I looked when I went to delete them, and they were a new user. When I went to delete them, their name wasn't the name of the person who emailed me. So they had changed their name already. But I guess how like when you create your calf gallery, you actually call it, Kahlil or Bill Cox's comic art gallery or something like that. We give your gallery a generic title, and we put the name that you signed up with as part of that generic title, because it just seemed to make sense. Most people don't know that they can go back in and edit not only the description, like you were just mentioning, Eranga, but also the title. So like this guy had changed his name, his first and last name in his profile, but when he goes to his calf gallery, he still sees his real name at the top. Didn't realize he could edit that, and got mad, and then literally emailed me an hour. I said, well, that's not my responsibility to change your name. Many people don't use their real names on the site. And then about an hour later, he emailed me back apologizing, having just re-signed up, and he figured out what that. But again, it's back to instructions and things of that sort. But no, you guys doing any kind of editing like that really doesn't cause any problems.
Cool.
I mean, I would encourage it right now, but I know it will be a headache when we redesign your gallery and the overall site. It'll cause problems. So, but more than likely, what I would do is probably give people a demo site that they could go look at and just be able to see, okay, this is what my gallery is going to look like in the new format. Maybe, and we give you a date. On this date, it's going to change over. You might want to clean it up and make sure it looks good over here before the cutover date.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that today because I worked on it for a few hours. I was kind of proud of myself. I added pictures, I centered them, I changed the text size, made them bold. It looks nice. Go check out the gallery. But I spent all these hours on it, and I was like, man, what if like Monday Bill sends out an email saying, hey, you guys, we're adding a new feature because that's the kind of stuff that usually happens to me. But go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say it's not anywhere near on the horizon. I wish it were. I mean,
okay.
I've drawn it all out, but as far as executing it all, no, it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Gotcha. Kind of going back to how I browse other people's galleries when I get in there. When I see like multiple folders with like different names and whatever, I'll be honest. It's overwhelming. I miss quite a bunch of stuff. Like, if you go in and you see like 25 red folder links, that this is blah, 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 this is blah, blah, blah. So I tend to go to their main folder and then sort by like views or sort by likes, so I can kind of see like what their most popular offerings are in their gallery. Very rarely will I go in and kind of, if you have 20 subfolders, kind of go through each of them and say, okay, here's the art in this and here's the art in that. I think the subfolders are a great idea, but like if you can find common denominators between your art to keep those down to like, I don't know, 10. This is absolutely completely just like my opinion, of course. I mean, someone's sitting there just like, hey man, I got 30 folders, you're nuts. But for me personally, as someone that's come to your gallery, it is a little, I don't want to use the word intimidating, but it's like, where do I even start going through this?
Mikhail did say your God complex is starting to shine through.
Not my God complex. Is that a comment on like the shine on my head? What's going on?
No, I appreciate that. So for me, it's kind of in between, right? I kind of like to see how people think about their collections, right? So you go to a gallery, and I try to make it a point to maybe twice a week look at a gallery I haven't before, maybe from start to finish. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll search by an artist or a character or something and say, I've never looked at this person's gallery before. So, seeing maybe 55 folders or 100, that's a little overwhelming. I'd agree with that, right? You kind of feel inundated, like, where do I start? And then you kind of default to the most likes, most commented, however you want to look at it that way. But I think, when you kind of break it up to maybe 10, 15, it's kind of, you kind of can see their thought process of it. We have some folks will say all Marvel, but then they'll say Daredevil Marvel. Like, so they're a Daredevil fan probably, right? They've got a lot of Daredevil art. So I like seeing some of that, the way it's broken up that way. So I'm thinking it through for myself, because I know that now the way I have it set up, it's how I think. I think about like modern art. I think, when I was younger, maybe before I was like vintage bronze stuff. I think about commissions very separately, that kind of thing. So good to know, good to hear. See some folks in the chat here. A lot do look at artists and a lot do default to most views, most likes. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you really just went into someone's CAF gallery and just went by the gallery rooms that they've created, it would be a daunting task for a lot of people's CAF galleries. I mean, I find it that way, and I almost don't read them half the time. I'll do a quick scan because some people they collect Avengers art, and so there'll be Avengers, 120 to 140. So they'll, and then there'll be 141 to, what I mean? They'll just, and it just gets overwhelming. And I'm thinking, well, what was in those issues? And do I really want, who were the artists on those issues? Do I want to click on that folder? And so I, like everybody else, or like a lot of you, I go down and scan and look at the artist list.
Right.
And we'll click over to most comments and most impressions or views and that sort of thing too, because I want to kind of cut to the chase. What's the coolest stuff that's in this gallery?
Right.
Like John, you don't have to say Apocalypse, Mr. Sinister, Magneto. I mean, we get that you like X bad guys, all right?
Yeah.
Just put them all in one folder, man.
Yeah, X-Men.
But yeah, I do get it. And sorry, just reading through a couple of
I'm looking
comments as well.
Publisher series.
Yep, sure. It's tough, and again, I think it's back to user preference. If you could arrange your artwork in a gallery, how would you do it? And that's really the approach people take. And and it does take a little bit of doing. Some people, new people, will come in and literally make a CAF gallery with just like the issue number of the first piece of art they're uploading, and then they just start uploading everything into that room, and they never change the title of it because they really didn't know what they were doing at first. I mean, that happens a lot. And when I see it, I go in there and I'll say, hey, you might want to change the name of that room to all of my art or my collection or something, just to kind of make it, so it doesn't seem so odd. Because, it's those, I usually have, my point of contact usually happen with the newer collectors more than anybody else as far as struggling with stuff. And I should also add, I saw the comment about, having a piece of art show up in multiple rooms. I mean, that's been coming up for 18 years. People have wanted something like that. And I don't know, it's a challenge to change the way our programming is written at this point to allow for that to happen. I get it, because then you could have a piece of art in many different places virtually. So I don't know. It's something to think about but then it's problematic in its own little weird way. It's like, we show counts next to gallery rooms, right? Well, if you show that one piece of artwork in all 12 rooms that you have because you feel it fits all 12 rooms, do I increment it? Do I only increment it in the room that is, and show that as part of the count for the room that it's really in? Or do I have to say that the number is right? And then you'll have somebody coming back saying, it says there's 10 pieces of art in this gallery, but there's 12. Why is your count not right? So you just can't win. I mean, I know it because I've run into all these things before. And everybody who uses CAF is very concerned about those impressions, the view that people are going to have of it. So if you say that there's 12 pieces of art, or you say there's only 10, but there's really 12, everybody's going to be on me about, well, that's not right. But then I'd look at it and say, well, come on, you shared half your art in many other rooms. So what am I supposed to do? Make it look like you have 500 pieces of artwork when you only have 250 or 200? So initially we just kind of stuck with a really rigid kind of format for things, but it's not to say it can't change. But I know that whenever any of those little things would come up, I'll be the one hearing about it and having to come up with a way to adequately, adjust things on CAF to make people aware, of what it is. Plus, it's just different. If you move a piece of art into another gallery, every time you're on a piece of art, it really knows where the origin gallery is, and we try to show that path. And I don't know, it's all technical stuff, man. I wish it was simple and esoteric, because effectively what you guys really want is almost as if you could tag your artwork. Because then if you could tag your artwork with 12 or 30 different tags, that would be a real easy way to be able to find things by title or by character. I think that would be of greater benefit than being able to put a piece of art in many different rooms, because we already know that people don't look at rooms very much. They're going to look at the artist list, or they're going to look at the comments and things. Well, if tags were out there, I think that would be more valuable than having that art appear in more than one room. So I guess
Ron
I'm
says,
talking
yeah.
myself out of it. I would probably lean towards tags more than I would lean towards having a piece of art in multiple rooms. So,
Bill, be honest. Like, how many times a day do you get an email? Like, how many emails do you get like a day that tell you how to make CAF better?
Outside of your 3 and my 5. Yeah.
I get a fair number, and I reply to a lot of them. I mean, because everybody has their own opinion on how things should be. And it's all valid. I mean, Mikhail, I have owed you a reply to your email from 10 days ago. I know it. I got it last Wednesday, the Wednesday before last, and I haven't replied to it. And it's not because I didn't want to. I just haven't been able to put the time in the right thoughtful reply to it. But no, I mean, but it's all good. I mean, I take things from those thoughts, and if it's something that I know I can't do or whatnot, I'll always reply and say it comes up a lot. We can't do it. But no, the thing is, nobody would email me with those thoughts if they didn't care, right?
Sure.
I mean, CAF's important to them, so I do value the emails that people will send when they suggest stuff. But sure, I mean, over time, I'll be honest. There's a few people out there who were friends with me in the early days who basically said they created CAF because they talked with me a lot in the first couple of years, and it annoyed me because it was like I tried being really open and wanting to be open about the path of the site, so it would be what everybody wanted, and it kind of backfired on me. Where a couple people essentially claim that I did everything to make CAF great, and so I kind of keep a lot of stuff to myself. Since that time, because of that, and it was silly, because I still talk to a lot of people, but I'm a little bit more guarded in my replies, I guess, and how far I carry a conversation, because I mean, everybody reacts differently to those sorts of things. So anyway.
Hey, Bill, someone mentioned, Tim mentions add partial splash category. That's interesting, right? Because part of me is like, is that overdoing it? But I do have a number of pieces where I'm like, that's almost a splash, but not quite. You know what I mean? Like it's a 2/3 or like a half. I don't
That's
know.
like a triple splash.
Yeah.
Isn't that what? Yeah.
A triple page splash, right?
A triple page.
a TPS, right? All right, there's bound to be that. Oh, yeah, Marcus has brought up. Yeah,
There it is, the triple vertical splash.
Good old Anthony and his marketing ways.
Matt says add a boozy category. Nice boozy category.
What about a thigh gap category? Come on.
Yeah.
Oh God!
Exactly. Thank you, Fish. Yeah. Actually, Haj had mentioned to me about having an art type for character design. Which makes sense. I mean, because it would help categorize certain types of art. So I'm not saying what I have there is perfectly finite. I mean, I guess I don't know. I've just never thought of as a like a half splash or 2/3 splash. I mean, call it a splash. I mean, at the end of the day, right? I mean, otherwise, I think because 18 years have gone by and all these people who call their 2/3 splashes a splash are going to have to go back and because they're going to want to be the number one viewed 2/3 splash artwork on the site for as long as they can. So, so I don't know. I mean, but I get it.
I'd agree. I just challenge you with it. Somebody brought it up because I saw the benefit, but I'm like, yeah, that may be overdoing it, right?
No, well, if it's valid, I mean, it's valid. I don't know about a half or a 2/3 splash. I think the character design one that George had asked me about makes a lot of sense. There's certain things that have to change to even get that extra category in there. But it made sense to me to have something like that. It'd be really hard to wedge a new thing in, or make me want to add something new at this point. Although, I mean, I'm not against it. Any of those things, certainly.
Right on. Well, I appreciate your thoughts, fellow panelists, folks here on the chat. We give Bill more to think about.
Yeah,
potentially work on, right?
Jason says he felt dirty because he called his 3/4 splash a splash. You don't have to feel dirty, Jason. It's
take a shower. Go take a shower, man.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody would hold it against you.
Wait, what? The not taking a shower thing, or the?
Okay, the not taking. We would hold that against.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. A splash list. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, good topic. And I would just say, for me, I kind of prefer to group things by team or character. Is the way I've kind of gone about it. Unless I have like an artwork for my wife and an artwork for my son and an artwork for my girls, kind of folders. But other than that, I kind of stick with team or character because I just think that keeps it simple. I wouldn't want to. I mean, I have my X-Men, I have an X-Men published and an X-Men commission folder, right? But I mean, my X-Men published pieces across many different titles. I would never want to make an extreme X-Men folder and an uncanny X-Men folder and something like that. So that's kind of been my approach to my own half gallery.
That's cool. You know what I thought about once? Bill was doing like I'm thinking about Marvel, breaking it up where it's like Marvel Cosmic or the X universe, or I got a lot of Black Panther art, right? So I could probably make that its own thing, and the
Avengers family,
Marvel Street Heroes, or and then the mystical Doc Strange stuff. I thought about that. We'll see.
Like Kahlil, I mean, do you remember like when they broke up like the editor-in-chief position at Marvel and they had 5 group editors, and like those 5 group editors were responsible for a certain corner of the Marvel universe. So if you looked at like that, so the Spider-Man family, the X-Men, the Avengers family. So kind of go into maybe check that out. See if that gives you any.
I may do that. I have a lot of time on my hands to spend on this stuff, right?
All right. Well, very good.
Bill, should we look at some art?
Yes, we should look at some art. And Jill, you get to go first this evening with the art. And
all right.
I'm going to get your first artwork here on the screen.
Sure. So one of the other panelists, I don't want to ruin another panelist topic, but it's a little bit about selecting some art that's in our own collection. So this one's actually in my gallery. That is, an artist that we think of that could be a great up and comer. So this is Rich Heinemann. I picked this one because this guy is spot on with every Calvin and Hobbes piece he does. And so he likes to do Calvin and Hobbes mashups. Of course, I'm a huge Calvin and Hobbes fan, as I mentioned before, what year I was born. So really wanted to spotlight this piece because I think he's one of those guys that definitely has the goods and has done some sequential work before. He's just not a name that a lot of people really have heard before. He did just have a recent successful Kickstarter with an art book that he did it was nice. It was bound. It was not just a, stapled sort of book, but I just wanted to go ahead and spotlight him and make sure that everyone knew he was out there. And after the last Mandalorian season, I knew that I wanted him to do a little mashup for me that included Calvin and Hobbes along with some of the Star Wars ladies. So that's why I went ahead and commissioned him to do this.
It's very cool. I dig the color work.
Yes. And I even had him. I mean, yes, I know Calvin and Hobbes purists. You don't normally see Hobbes when you see Spaceman Spiff, but I had to have Hobbes in there. And I think that he took the concept and ran with it beautifully with Hobbes as the Obi-Wan character.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
That is cool, yes.
The artist name is Rich Heinemann. Ronald was just asking.
Oh, yep. I just saw that.
Yeah.
Well,
how big is it? Would the description say how big it is?
In my no. This is oh gosh. I think this is 11 by 14.
Okay, that's a good size. I was wondering if it was smaller. Yeah.
Yes, Mike, it's a full splash. Because it's a commission. But yeah, he put a lot of his mashups with Calvin and Hobbes in his recent art book, and I was lucky to actually have 2 pieces represented in that book, and this one happened to be one of them. But yeah, it's a pretty good size. I was slightly worried about asking for that many characters, and I even put Slave 1 in there for me. But yeah, it's a good size. It didn't feel too crowded.
Right on.
It's so well executed. It's such a fun commission. Yeah, congrats on that.
Yes. Well, one of the things about art is, a lot of the comic art we look at, when it makes you smile, laugh, really feel something, while you can appreciate the artistic merit at the same time. I mean, that's what it's about, right? The emotive side of things, and part of that spectrum is smiling, laughing, at your work. So this is a nice example of that.
Yeah.
All right, and your second artwork.
Second piece. Okay, this is in the gallery of Dark Phoenix, ironically enough, but this is, I took the concept seriously. Lucas Wernick is the artist here, and he's not super well known. He has done some work for Marvel and DC. He's best known for the work that he's done in relation to the Hellfire Gala with all of the X-folks dressed up. And so this one was just, this is 11 by 17. And it is stunning. I've seen it in person. This doesn't do it any justice. But Lucas Wernick, man, he's also been out there, and he's really good at doing art that is also Disney characters. So, you know, if anyone's got daughters or sisters or wives or whatever out there that are interested in that kind of art, Lucas Wernick is super talented. I love how Casey's commenting on her own piece. Hello, nurse. But yeah, this is definitely one of those pieces that I think is yes, striking, beautiful, great pose, super like the Phoenix hands that are just the way that you want them to be. It's just a great piece. I love this.
Yeah, love the way he's kind of attacked space, and then you know, with the colors and the hair, he's not gone too detail-y into the hair either. I think he did the you were mentioning the Hellfire Gala, but he did that the Drake mashup on Colossus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love this dude. He's been doing some really nice work. I think he's on the cusp.
Yeah, he's in Brazil too, so
Yep.
he's another one of those Brazilian artists that just need to get the nod, need to get the tap by someone really big. But he's got the talent to do, you know, cover work and sequential too. I've seen some of his, you know, more sequential type of examples, and he's great.
It's definitely a nice rendition. You know, to me, it's like, you know, having a lot of different colors in the warm spectrum, right? I like that he differentiated between the costume red and the hair red. Mm-hmm. And obviously you got oranges and golds in there. And this Jean Grey costume, and the one prior, right, that was green before Dark Phoenix, by far to me is the best look for the character. And you know, so many great renditions. This one's up there. Like I said, I like the whole spectrum, and I have to agree with Eranga as far as the hair not being like, you know, fully finished. Like, you know, it's kind of like it's kind of trailing off at the ends, and you know, that's, you know, when you think about the character, that's just kind of brimming with energy, and that kind of helps push that. That's nice.
For sure.
Yeah, that black cosmic background is just the perfect way to contrast kind of the bright fiery flames surrounding Phoenix. I kind of like kind of the flames coming off of you know, her costume. Just overall beautiful piece.
Thanks, guys. Yeah. Good art is good art, no matter how expensive or well known the artist is. I have all kinds of pieces in my chaotic gallery for you, Kahlil. If you wanted to see some art that's by some unknown folks, I've got a good amount, because I just, if I like the art, I'll buy it. I don't care if you're a name or not.
Yeah. Yep. I hear you.
Well, a pair of good choices there. So
nice setup there. Nice setup there behind you too.
Thanks. Yeah, this is, you guys haven't seen this setup before. I actually, the reason why I'm down here and with this setup, this is my office that I don't normally do these conversations from, but I'll talk about it a little bit more when we get to my topic.
Cool.
All right. Well, Eranga, I have chosen you to go second today.
Oh, okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah. We'll do this.
I didn't choose him to go. So
there.
Stretch. But so my topic, I mean, spoiler, it's I don't necessarily have like a ton of insightful things to say about it. It's more of a way for me to kind of gather the knowledge that's on this panel, kind of get some answers from you guys, or like some insight and in the comment section too. So it's my topic is auction participants, right? Whether that's buyers or sellers. It's just trying to get an idea of what their makeup is, right? I mean, you know, different people go into different auctions, whether, you know, you can split it up by the site they go to too as well, right? Heritage, Comic Link, eBay, you know, you got Comic Connect. It almost seems like there's some overlap in the people that are in these auction sites, but there's various personalities that go into it as well. So I have an idea of what the broader category of the buyers and sellers are that participate in auctions. So you obviously have, the high dollar stuff that's a little bit outside my purview. So that's not an ocean I swim in. So you've got those guys that are either doing it for super nostalgic purposes or investment purposes, or you name it. You've got the high dollar bidders, and you've also got people looking for deals. I would throw myself in that category, right? Because you would go in, and especially because I buy a lot of commission work versus published work. You go in there and you're hoping you can kind of get something at less than what a current commission rate was, etc. So you're looking for deals in that case. On the selling side of things, you've got you'll always have the people that got in when the market was right, that been collecting for 20, 30 years, and they're like, okay, now's the time to reap the dividends of having had this when I bought it for $50, and it's peaked, it's time to get rid of it. There's that aspect of it, and you also have people kind of like, I would throw myself in there. I would throw a lot of us in here, is where we scour the available landscape, every corner, every dark corner where we know there could be original art, we find the deals, et cetera. And it might not even be necessarily the stuff that you want to keep, but stuff that you can use as a trading token to get something else. And those, the buyers at that point kind of interest me, their mindset, because they're willing to pay a premium. Is the willingness to pay a premium because they're not aware of the other avenues that they can go to get that art, or does that just not matter? It's definitely not a rhetorical question. I'll wrap this up so you guys can kind of fill me in on the answers here. And lastly, what do you guys think are the specific triggers that send people, other than the obvious? Like the obvious thing is, okay, this platform has a piece of art that I want today, or this week, or this month. But what are individual triggers you think that kind of push people more towards a heritage, a comic link, an eBay? So that's basically the sum of the topic I wanted to talk about. It's basically a series of questions from me. That's all it is. I'm not really kind of providing any insight to you guys.
Although you have some, though. I know, right? But didn't you recently win some auctions that you had placed early bids on and didn't really expect to win? I thought I remembered seeing or hearing something about that. Or is that not true? Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
No, that wasn't me.
So, but it kind of goes along with where you were saying you're always looking for deals. So, I mean, as an approach, so one thing that I know a lot of people will do is they'll bid, they'll put a bid out there and just see if it's going to work or not. Right? They're bidding their max, which is low, hoping to get a deal, and people get surprised quite often when they end up winning something. And I'm sorry, I thought it was you, but I'm definitely must be thinking of somebody else that I saw it on Facebook or in one of our chat groups. But it's always funny because I've done that too, and I've won artwork that way as well. So it's not like it's a trigger, but you see something that you like and you're like, wow, if I could get that for $400, I'd take it. So I'll throw a bid out there 5 days before the auction's over, and lo and behold, I end up getting it. And that's one approach I think a lot of people would take when they're looking for deals. They just because they know it's something they want and it's at a price point that they're willing to pay, and then they walk away, and it's a nice surprise if they get it.
Yeah, I do think historically that there were a lot of collectors that thought of if you're going to go get the big piece, you got to go to heritage. Comic Link's got some of that modern stuff, but if you want to get the legit stuff, this is where you got to go. I think that's kind of gone away a bit, right? I mean, Comic Link's gotten some really nice stuff in the last few years. So I think for the most part, whoever's looking for that stuff is kind of going across the spectrum. And then secondarily, I know I would talk to other collectors, and I know I would think of this for me. Like there were a number of years where I would go to Comic Link and I feel like, I got solid deals, right? Things to this date, I think that have worked out okay. That's just less the case because there's more people looking for things and trying to find that deal and scouring every corner. I do think there are a lot of people looking everywhere more often than there used to be. Like, I got to be on top of the dealer posts. I got to be on top of eBay. I got to be on top of what comes out here, whatever, right? So I think that's the case. So it's more effort now to get, I think, I don't know if even the word is deal, but that right piece at that right price. I think it's just tougher in that regard when you look at any platform. Because I would say for myself on Comic Link, hey, if it's close to what you would pay and maybe a little bit over, just do it. Because at the end of the day, that's probably going to go to a collector who may or may not keep it, or a dealer, and it's going to be more expensive after this anyway, right? It's harder now, but as far as the profiles of folks go, I would put myself in the camp of, I try to look at Comic Link and Heritage and kind of know everything that I might be interested in. And for me, right, I get like, what's that stuff that's on my list? And I very clearly break that into what I could actually get and what I cannot. Because there's a lot that's moved over to that cannot category, unless are to move a lot of other pieces to do that, right? So I kind of whittle it down that way, and then I try to target a handful of things here and there. I will say it's tougher now, but I think the deals are there, and I think to Wonder Effing Woman's point just a few minutes ago, there's more art, which is what's cool though. There's more artists that are just getting going in the business, published, non-published, where you're seeing some great stuff. You just gotta, I guess, spend the time, right, to dig and research. So,
right.
My thoughts. That's I don't know. That wasn't very organized, but
No, I mean it definitely makes sense. Yeah.
And I'm 6 years in to this hobby, so I want to say, kind of, at least from a comic book perspective, Comic Link seemed more user friendly to me, similar to eBay, where you kind of just put in the bid and then it counts down. I was a little thrown off the first time I did on Heritage, and then I was like, oh, it's going to the live auction.
Yep. And
that kind of threw me off. But, I purchased pieces on both. And to Kahlil's point, now with art prices going up, one of the first rules of thumb I was given when I started the hobby was always have your war chest ready in case that piece comes up. But now as prices kind of scale up, I still throw in that tracking bid just in case, if a fellow collector buys it. Maybe I can do trade value, or when I build that war chest up, live to fight another day, just to make an offer on that piece.
Right. Well, I found I've had to put those tracking bids in on Comic Link, right? Because you don't have that historically unless it's in your history. And how often do you get used? So I got to make sure I use it too, right? Well, 6 months ago, this went for whatever, right? So, the stuff that's top of mind for me that I like, I definitely try to keep track of what's happened historically, right? What things have went for. And Heritage, it's there. It's, Bill's got tracking for a lot of the dealers, which you can pay for, which I do, which is super helpful. I look at it at least every other day. And then my Comic Link history that goes back to 14.
That's impressive. Yeah, I'm Eranga, to your questions, I'm kind of a set it and forget it. I'll look at things. I will place bids. I do have a sniping software. I will snipe, but it's really only for a piece that I just know I gotta have. And right now, the pieces that I know I gotta have most of the time are, for me at least, are on eBay or Heritage. And some stuff, there are some dealers that I have really good relationships with that kind of stuff will pop up. That I'm lucky to have those relationships to kind of work through some of that, because I think that's one of those avenues that a lot of people don't think of as a good source of art.
Right.
And then I also, the CAF want list alert. Larry, right on the ball there, man. I do also have some CAF want list alerts set. There's some particular artists that I'm looking for that just, I don't have something from them. And that's the kind of collector that I am. I'm kind of wide with the number of artists that I have. I don't have a ton of pieces by the same artist, because that's just not the kind of collector I am. So if there's a particular, I don't want to out names because I don't want competition from everybody, but there are some particular artists that I just have on my want list and are relentless in looking for different pieces by those particular artists is how I tend to work through it. But the thing about the hobby, which is great, is that there's always more art. So that's why I'm not one of those collectors that gets really upset if I don't win an auction, if I, get passed over for, something from a dealer. I don't worry about it. There's going to be more art. There's going to be more artists. There's more opportunities. So that's kind of how I view it. For me personally, I agree that Heritage has some UX issues, and Comic Link can sometimes feel like the entry into it is difficult. Like it's kind of difficult to figure out for someone that's, brand new to the site, having to do tracking bids. And what if you just don't want to deal with all of that? That's definitely, that's definitely a factor. So that's kind of some of the random answers to your random questions.
Hey,
my
topic is a little scattershot, right?
Well, I tell you what, though, y'all are commission fans, and I am too, right? I used to do a lot more of it than I do now, but over the years, I remember even to this day on Comic Link, sometimes you can find some nice buys on the non-published side because people are focusing a bit more on published, right? And I think somebody here mentioned the Wednesday Heritage. There have been like 4 or 5 pieces over the years that I've gotten there that I'm so happy that I did. And they're considered the lower tier weekly auctions, right? But sometimes there's some good stuff in there. You just got to make the time, which can be tough, right? Easier said than done.
Yeah, and there's so much stuff to pass through that it becomes, the overwhelming priority in your life at some point, and you just gotta take a breath and just be like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Let's just be another full-time job if you let it, man.
Yeah,
hours every day.
100%.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you something. People were bringing up want lists, and someone said something about being able to search other people's want lists. That sounds like a terrible idea.
There's 2 want lists. I was actually just going to post the link to West, okay, because there are, in fact, there's 2 different want lists that you can add as a CAF person, and the one is a public want list, and that's viewable by anybody, and the link I just posted in there is searchable by anybody. Like Wes just said, hey, I've got a piece of art that's for sale. Wouldn't it be great if I could just find somebody that wants it and then offer it to them? Well, okay, yeah, that's there. But when you're editing your want list as a user, there's the public one, and then there's the private one. And the private one being the one that when you're a premium member, we alert you within 5 minutes of art getting added. And I don't know, did everybody look at their email when Larry said he just got a want list? Because I did. I wanted to see if I got something in mind. But
I got burned by my want list recently, Bill.
Oh, how's that?
Because I had a really exciting day, like Tuesday. I had multiple back to back, hey, comic want. And I was like, oh my God, this never happens. Yeah. So I went in and checked it out. It turns out it's all a bunch of stuff I sold to Anthony the week before. But we just loaded onto.
But you were so excited you bought 2 of them back.
I was so excited. I was like, man, why did I sell these? Yeah.
No, I love the want list. Yeah, I love the want list. Sometimes you just look at your email and it's like, pow, wow, there's something I got to look into. Yeah.
It is like Pavlov's dog. It's so Pavlovian. I will be doing something entirely different. The banner pops up on my phone. I was like, ignore that. Go straight to my banner. Check out the want list. And then I forgot what I was doing previously. It's just ring that bell. Start salivating over a want list.
That's right.
You should have sent Anthony a nasty gram.
He uploaded them all immediately. I was like, holy cow, you just got it yesterday. And
he doesn't waste any time.
Good for him.
Now Anthony's one of the he churns. That's why he has so many. He always leads our market reports with the most sales, individual sales, because he gets a lot of stuff on his site, and he's great about removing it. He's one of the few dealers that takes sold artwork off his site immediately, because as a businessman, he's told me, it's just like, why would I want to leave sold stuff up there? I want to keep selling. I'm like, well, that's what I thought everybody would say, but it's not the case. So so that I know what you meant by the searching want list could be a bad thing, and but I wanted to make sure everybody knew that there's 2, so because some people like to make certain things public, and then other people prefer to would rather just keep it private. And that's fine, and we allow them to do either.
Yep.
So on the topic of like the anatomy of auction participants, we had 4 or 5 different answers from everybody on the panel. It looks like if you were to kind of boil it down, you've got the high end bidder, and there's some reps in there as well. You're talking, it's what's high end to somebody and what's not. I don't know, 200,000, 250,000. They're buying those weekly, whatever that may be, right? So there's that. Then there's people like me that's looking for deals on either published work or non-published work. Mostly, let's be honest, commission work. And I think Jill, we're kind of, we're looking for the same kind of thing there. There's also the people that are looking for stuff that they can buy at a deal and then flip that, right? That exists as well. Sure. It seems like that exists quite a bit more on like the eBay platform or more than a couple of the others, I would think. Yeah. John, I can't remember which one you were. You are looking for more of the published work, but you seem to be a little bit more targeted. You like to build up your war chest and then go after
trying to stay more disciplined, but yeah, not all the time. But I would consider a mixture. I love still getting commissions, but probably half and half published and commission work.
Yeah. You do both. Yeah, you do both. Yeah.
Yeah. This topic, it's kind of weird because it does dovetail into, I got a peek at what your topic is, John. It kind of does dovetail into that. So I don't want to like expand on some of the things that I want to talk about because I think it complements yours like fairly well. So I'll leave some of that to when we start yours.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. I got my answers. So
and there's also folks that are just super targeted, right? Like there are folks like I think John said, there are folks that built their war chest, and then all of a sudden the piece that they want, that they've been waiting around for 5 years, just shows up, and then you know what I mean, and they go all in for it. I've seen some of those too, and I'm always happy for those folks too when they can actually make that happen. I think there was a big drop on Heritage with a lot of the Joe Madureira Deadpool, that original Deadpool series, maybe earlier this year. A lot of those pages covers showed up, and I know that there were a couple folks that I know that were just waiting for that stuff to show up one day, and it did, right. And they were lucky enough to pick something up
to get it. Yeah.
All right, Eranga, very good topic, and like you said, I know exactly what you're talking about. Where John's topic will play well into that, and it's good because John will be going next after John shows some artwork to everybody.
Cool.
So I don't usually do that, but I figured tonight put you right in the middle. So let's get your first artwork on the screen, John.
All right, so I wanted to feature this. This is actually a piece owned by a buddy of mine, Dickie O, who played an important role when I got into the hobby. For those that don't know, he does have a column called Original Art Aficionados, and it really kind of was a tutorial to me when I got into the OA collection. I wanted to highlight this just because I felt like Ariel Olivetti, he's I would consider overlooked and possibly undervalued compared to other modern painters like Alex Ross or Gabriel Delato. And, I just really love his work. I know sometimes he does digital painting, but this is one of his traditional pieces, kind of where he incorporates a combination of oil and acrylic painting. And one of the Ariel's strengths is he is very detailed in terms of the anatomy, in terms of incorporating all the muscle groups, and which works perfectly for these two massive characters. I love his rendition of Juggernaut fighting Scar in this case, and you can see Scar doesn't skip arm day in the gym with his biceps and biceps here, and even the forearm. So kind of just wanted to highlight Ariel. He's a South American Argentinian artist, which kind of like Joe had mentioned, I feel like a lot of the South American market is undervalued or overlooked currently, and just a beautiful painting overall.
Yeah, no, he does amazing work, man, and his work goes back like a distance, especially at Marvel. He did those covers, and this was kind of when it fell into like my sweet spot. He did a lot of the covers for Cable back in the day, and you're right, and I don't know why he doesn't get the due that some of the other modern painters do.
I agree. I actually bought. I was looking into buying this one from Splash Page, right? Because Mark Hay reps him. But but I missed it just by a little bit of a window. So I went to Dickie, who we both know, John, who's cool. And this is what's cool about this one too. Is when I look at the Juggernaut, you know, his armor is brown, but you see that kind of grayish sheen.
Mhm.
Oh, I love that. I love that, man. Those little details that aren't so overt, but just, you know, they're so impactful in terms of looking at the overall image. And I love that juxtaposition of the green on Scar versus, you know, the brown on the Juggernaut. But yeah, I actually have a Black Panther cover image, and it's framed in the back room here by him. I look at it all the time.
Oh, very cool.
And he might be, I don't know, because I felt like I've got that great piece by him for me personally, so I haven't kept up with his market. But I know at least a few years back, I thought it was a great value. I hope, and that might still be the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think his stuff is still fairly affordable, if we can still say that today. But yeah, compared to some of the other names we dropped, he really does like awesome work. I don't know if you watched any of his you know, he's on Instagram, and I don't know if he's on Facebook, but he does a lot of in process stuff and process vids. It's fascinating watching him paint.
Yeah,
and super quick too.
That's right.
Yeah,
and Dark Phoenix on the chat and Jill here. John actually has a great piece by him, and John, was it a commission? And I think Dark Phoenix is front and center of it. I know you got a few by him. Yeah.
Kind of trying to incorporate the whole Dark Phoenix saga. I asked him to kind of feature the Hellfire Club, Sebastian Shaw, and Emma Frost in the background.
Yeah.
Is it in your CAF gallery?
Yes.
Okay. No, I'm taking the patina on this, just like you said, Kahlil. That's like what's drawing my eye the most, and to choose to make that the focal point on Juggernaut is I think it's a unique and successful choice here, because in this pose and them fighting like this is not. I don't think that's one of those traditional poses you wouldn't necessarily expect to see. Something like this, you know, a little bit more heads up is seems to be the norm, but I like this because it works. I think it's just really cool.
Right. Whenever whether it's characters or the character's costume, whenever you can show like different texture, right? Like sheen versus flat color versus armor or whatever, that can come out great in the art like this.
for sure.
Yep, it's you know, I love the like you said, the use of texture. It reminds me of how Rosetta would paint a column or something like that. It's not something you see a lot of, that kind of detail, you know, put into something, you know, because you could do Juggernaut and you know, his texture very differently, very simply, yet this is done, you know, it's beautiful. Very good choice.
I was debating about highlighting it because I emailed Dickie like maybe twice a year about this piece. Probably now the value's gone up more in his head, so I never get it from him.
Yeah, you want to high five your friends sometimes, but not all the time when they do something.
Isn't that true? Isn't that 100% true? Yeah. I guess it's okay. I guess it's all right.
I'm glad you like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. The second choice here.
So, you know, this image I chose, it's from Dean Abraham's gallery. And this was kind of, this miniseries, this X for Sex and Violence, was actually my first time I got into Gabriel Dell'Otto when he still did interior work. And I chose this image just because it's probably one of my top 3 favorite Wolverine images. I think it's a very dynamic piece. You kind of get thrown into the action. In the storyline, you know, Domino gets in trouble. I think she double crosses the Guild of Assassins and the Hand as well. So both organizations are after her, and then Wolverine's kind of thrown into it too. And just the ferocity and visceral nature that Dell'Otto captures in Wolverine, just a beautiful piece in my opinion.
I love how we chose to render the smoke coming out of the bullet holes in the car. It's delicate and yet not. Yeah, he does a great Wolverine. What did you say this miniseries was? Was it Sex and Violence? Is that right?
Yeah, 3-issue miniseries.
Yeah.
And isn't it like, so Wolverine's got, you know, one of the best, most original costumes ever. And I'm you know, being an 80s kid, I'm always going to go to the brown and tan. That's my favorite look.
Preach.
Right. But this is 79. But this is basically that, you know, similar uniform, but flipped to this gray, black, white scheme. And I remember when the X-Force book was released, there were a couple artists that did this rendition where it just popped, because you can play so much on the red eyes potential, like blood here, like, you know, with Wolverine, that it really, really worked in certain situations. This is one of those. I mean, Del Auto's obviously a master. I do feel like some of his work, I'm like, and some of it just blows me away. You know what I mean? I get that whole kind of spectrum. I guess you can say that with a lot of artists, but for me, enough to say it with him. But this is definitely on that, you know, latter category.
Yeah, it's a great image. Great image.
It's pretty good, I guess.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
That's some pretty good art, man.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of very good selections there, John. Appreciate it. So you get to take us on the third topic of this evening.
All right. So, you know, my topic, I want to kind of go over how much nostalgia will impact the original art market, meaning, you know, with kind of the different generations, with kind of like the baby boomers and Gen X. And my category, where I consider the tail end of Gen X, the beginning of the millennial category. Even since I started collecting 5 or 6 years now, I've seen kind of the 90s market kind of take over, where the 80s market is still holding the value, but I've seen the 90s market jump up a lot. So it's probably considered the hottest market currently. But as more millennials and Gen Z enter the OA market now that, you know, there's more access to it, will we ever see a shift where modern art now will kind of outperform the art in our generation? Meaning, will the John Byrne Dark Phoenix X-Men pages that are commanding all these high prices, as those collectors kind of age over time, and these modern collectors don't really have that nostalgic tie-in to the Dark Phoenix saga, will those art values ever diminish, or will they kind of, because of historical purposes, they reach certain values and they'll kind of still command those prices over time? And the second part is, you know, with movies now being popular and pop culture, will kind of how the movie does in a box office affect the art value? Meaning, like, I would say, you know, Thanos and Infinity War and Endgame really drove up cosmic art prices, and Marvel did a phenomenal job. But say like Venom 2, which I enjoyed certain parts, but it wasn't the best movie. If it tends to flop, will that affect Venom pieces moving forward? Just wanted to see what your guys' thoughts are on nostalgia affecting the OA market. Yeah.
Well, so the piece that I shared is all about nostalgia. I wanted a Star Wars character, and I wanted Calvin and Hobbes. 100% nostalgia. I think nostalgia is one of the major buying drivers for individuals out there today. But it's the age group that has the disposable income to go ahead and buy. So I think that the younger kids, you know, your millennials and Gen Z and whatever we're going to call those other generations, may not have the disposable income yet. Some millennials do, of course, because there's millennials in their late 30s do. But I think that, in my opinion, it seems that nostalgia is a huge driver. And so I think that's why the 90s market is really hot. But as these older pieces get bought and get locked away, to Marcus's point on the chat there, I think it's going to be what's out there and what's left. And then what happens when some of the older collectors end up having to set loose of their collections. Not to be morbid, but you know, when they're no longer with us. So I think that there's going to be just waves of nostalgia driving this. And I think that there will be different generations driving a lot of the prices, and the younger set coming up with more of that disposable income in order to make their voices heard in the market.
I agree with you, Jill. And John, it's a topic I've thought about like a lot recently, just from the point of view of how did most of us get here. Like, we started reading comics, panels, pages, splashes, vertical triple doozy splashes. They appealed to us at some point, and we kind of remembered it. And then we're here at a point that we can buy it. Where is that generation coming from if they started today? And do they exist? Like, are there 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds reading their first comic book today that will in 40 years be the art buyers of the future? That they might respect what came before. They will respect what came before if they started reading comics today. That's my feeling, because I don't necessarily I didn't start reading when John Byrne was working on X-Men, right? It was Jim Lee and Wills and those guys that were doing it. But as I was a comic reader moving forward, you kind of fill those gaps in, and you start appreciating the history of it. Where are those readers coming from today to become the art buyers of the future? They got to be comic buyers today. And this whole thing that the MCU and the success of multimedia platforms and things like that, yes, they do bring things into it, but we've seen it doesn't move the needle when it comes to comic book readership. It just doesn't. It was kind of one of those things that was held out there. Like,
well, that's their comics in a way. Sorry, I didn't mean to whatever. But that's
no, you good.
Yeah, I'm sorry, wrong, but yeah, that's kind of.
Yeah, if that's what brought you in, and it's Tony Stark as Iron Man, and it's Chris Evans as Captain America, and that is, and if their parents or whoever that was got them into comics at some point, then that's true. Then we can start talking about how today's creators will eventually, in 30 years, be the guys that we're paying $500,000 to get their OA. But oops, that OA doesn't exist because it was digital. But that's a different.
That's a different
yeah, right. But you know what I mean. Like, you gotta, if you put the flag, in as this is the moment in time that this kid read his first comic book, and it was a Dale Keown Incredible Hulk, and 40 years from now he's chasing that dream when it comes up. I don't know where that readership is today. I have heard that things like Squirrel Girl and Devil Dinosaur, those are actually doing really well because they're being promoted in, libraries and stuff like that. And I think Erica Henderson, I think she holds on to a lot of her art because I think she sees the writing on the wall that these suckers who are reading it today will be the guys that are spending the money in the future. But beyond that, I don't see it.
Yeah, that's tough. I do think, John, to the second question around the movies, I don't necessarily think that they hurt sales, but they help, right? So I think for the most part they can only help, right? You think about like the Green Lantern flop with DC a few years ago when Green Lantern was all the rage, with the Jeff Johns run and all that. I don't think it hurt art, but it didn't help. You think conversely, Thanos showing up, that's definitely had an impact on the art market. But to me, I guess, and obviously I'm a little biased, like maybe we all are, the fact that fine art has existed and appreciated over the last 50, 60, 100, whatever, as generations have moved on, I think bodes well for our stuff that is becoming more legitimate in that regard, like an actual art form, right? And it's still one of one. So to me, those things, I think, will help insulate the key stuff. You mentioned John Byrne X-Men. It's hard for me to see that if you care about the X-Men in any avenue, as far as the future goes, not knowing or learning that was key to what the X-Men are in general, or Spider-Man, like on Romita or Ditko or McFarlane. I just think there's some stuff that'll stay. I do wonder sometimes about the stuff that's less clear that way, right? Some of the stuff that I might collect, right? Like I collect, maybe the Billy Graham or Rich Buckler's Black Panther stuff. Who, you know what I mean? Is that stuff that people going to care about that later? Is my kid and them going to care about it? Not necessarily sure, right? But at the same time, I do feel, again, the whole one of one, the whole expansion of these characters and this mythology, kind of going broader into the world, and then also just the legitimacy of OA as actual art. I think that all bodes well, right? So I feel bullish, but I do wonder about that next generation, Eranga, right? You said the overall readership, right? That So for me, I didn't grow up on Jack Kirby, right? And I got my one Jack Kirby piece because I appreciate his contribution, which is unparalleled to the medium. But I didn't read his books, and I don't have that nostalgic feel that way. What's the next generation going to think about Jack Kirby and all that art out there? Don't know, but I still feel bullish on a lot of this stuff, I guess.
But Kahlil, you feel that appreciation for Jack Kirby because you grew up a comic book reader.
That's what I mean. They're not me, right? So I kind of, as a comic reader, kind of went back.
Right.
So yeah, the demographic is definitely different for the folks that are younger. Mm-hmm.
And the millennial question is kind of interesting because that's the tying link I was talking about when I was talking about the auction stuff. Is, are we seeing the more of a millennial audience? I don't want to put this in a weird way, but like the newly rich, quote unquote, through whether that's crypto or whatever that may be. Are we seeing, hey, these guys over here seem to think there's a certain value in this, and following that trend, because there does seem to be an influx in buyers, right? Like today, where are they all coming from? They can't all just be, and when I was talking about auction formats, that's the mystery buyer. That's the one I was, is it millennials? Is it? It's definitely not Gen Z. But yeah.
Well, I think just from the price, the 90s being the hot section, really in comic art right now. I mean, I think that tells us a lot about where the period where the nostalgia is coming from, how old they were. Because I didn't read a lot of 90s books, to be honest with you. So I look at it and I'm like, I don't care. You guys can keep buying all your 90s art because it just doesn't mean a whole lot to me.
Yeah.
That was that was where I graduated college in 91 and got back into comics probably around 98. So I missed all of that. And I was the first artworks that I bought, and it was at a Wizard World Chicago. It was right as the X-Men movie was coming out. So it was right, I guess that was 2000. And I bought 5 character designs drawn by Mike Miller of the X-Men costumes. And so I don't know why, because I certainly was looking at published artwork at the same place that I was looking at these pieces, but those were the pieces I bought. For whatever it was, I was sucked into the hype of the new X-Men movie. I was so excited. Grew up on X-Men. They were my team. They were my book. And what was the first thing I bought was 5 character designs. Why? But it's so there's that tie of it was partially me just getting back into comics, but also the thrill of seeing my characters on the big screen, whether it was a great great film or not. And that was my turning point in my collecting from comics to art was that. And the next piece of art was published, though, and it was a piece of art.
If you had a category for character designs, you could put those 5 character designs in that category on CAF.
Well,
I think I've already sold them, but you're absolutely right.
Bill,
you are very right. Yeah,
Bill. George says you did that because design art rules, but then right after that he says, "I mean, it's terrible. Don't buy it. Don't buy it."
That's right. Oh man, see, you guys got me. Now I have to put character design in there.
I mean, it was the thing that brought you back into art, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but when I was thinking of those, I guess character design just didn't strike me. But it's got me now. You guys, you got me. You pushed me into a corner that I can't back out of. I've got to write it down. Character design.
We did it, George.
That's right.
We did it.
Hey, Eranga, Black and Gray says more likely that comic reader will love. Oh no, that's not it. Sorry. About moviegoers will be more into original art than the actual comics. I mean, there might be something to that, as they get older. I don't know. When you talk about this newer money, because I feel like folks try to find new ways to show out. You know what I mean? To flex. You know what I mean? I mean, for real, to like stand out in some areas. And I don't know. This might be one of them, and there might be some of that. Most of the newer collectors that I'm like, wow, with is, you see in a span of a couple months, just adding so much to CAF with the newer artists though, right? So a lot of the guys that maybe Felix or some others might rep. and it's great to see that. But you wonder, like, that's their priority, right? So what about the other stuff? Is that if that keeps happening more and more? I do wonder about that. But
that's a good point. I can kind of see that, like, because there are the people that will not stop talking about the MCU that has never read a comic book in their life, right? And one of the ways they can stand, and you know, they're friends with people who I realize I'm generalizing here, but they're friends with people who also do the same thing, because the Marvel Universe, the MCU is this beast, this all-encompassing beast. So any little bit, and I've run into this with somebody who's only a movie watcher trying to give me history on the comics. Like, they're like, well, you know, in the comics, because so Wikipedia,
like, I do know, actually.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something.
But it goes back to what you were saying about the flexing aspect of it, right? So if they were in a circle that really didn't read comics or whatever, but they knew everybody loved the MCU, they're like, hey, check this out. This is this original thing that, you know, all this stuff is based off. Yeah, from a flex perspective. And then you got to have the means to do it, obviously. But yeah, definitely. I see that. That's a good point.
Well, I think what's also key too is it's not like there's a ton of us that dig this stuff. That doesn't take many, right? I mean, there doesn't take many to have for this stuff to matter. You know what I mean? I mean.
So Kahlil, what you're saying is that we should all just get together and start price fixing? It's not a very big group.
Oh, that's a very big topic right there, Jill.
I see ankle bracelets in our future.
Oh man,
yeah.
But no, I get it. I think that's there's lots of things going on in the hobby today. I think that are bringing prices where they are. I think I do think nostalgia still plays and will always play a big role in that. And like I've always said, art collectors, you don't just become art collectors. So I don't feel like people's nostalgia for comics are necessarily going to lead them to become art collectors, right? I mean, it's kind of, you're born with that, and that's your passion, and that's why like you were just saying, Kahlil, it's a finite base of people here, but that's all it takes. You only need 10 people that like Black Panther, and man, the Black Panther market's going to be pretty hot. So,
and it's not just 10, Bill. It's not as much as Spider-Man, but it's not just 10.
All right.
I hope you picked that number randomly.
I gotta watch what I say around here. All right.
It's not as many as Wonder Woman, Kahlil. There you go.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Yes. But yeah, that's true. And somebody mentioned as well. I mean, a lot of people have actually done well during COVID. I mean, as well. So you look at the prices that we're seeing today. I mean, a lot of people got wealthier, and it's not just the Bitcoin people. I mean, in general, a lot of businesses actually did good, and now they've got more money to spend, right? I mean, because I can say, I pretty much I've increased CAF's revenue a lot over that time, but I haven't, my collection didn't get any better. I've been spending more. I hired Colin, so for me, but I can say that I'm in that boat. It's like I'm in a business where I have more money, and I can see if I didn't have all these other things that I was trying to do and grow and whatever, I'd probably be buying art with that money. And I mean, or having one son who just finished college, daughter that just started, and another one that'll be starting 2 years from now. I'm like in that if I was only 10 years younger, man, and I was here, I'd be buying art like crazy again. It's just like, it's all that time in your life, right? I can't wait till my kids are done with college. I got 5 years. 5 years I can get back to buying artwork again.
But it might be artificially amazing for you. Like, by the time you're ready to start buying art again, all of this would have like collapsed, where you're
perfect timing.
You're buying like, John Byrne pages for $150.
I've been lucky enough to not have to choose between in that, like kids or art. If it gets there, it's going to be tough, man. It's gonna have to get a couple. I love my kids, man. I do.
Collector conversation. Let's have a discussion with Kahlil's kids about how Daddy's art habit affects their life.
Yeah. Bill, it's funny. It's funny when you said the Black Panther stuff, right? Because I was collecting that for a while, but when the movie was announced and when the movie came out, it was, the stuff got like more expensive. I mean, and it stayed that way. I'm not sure it's kept appreciating, but it stayed that way. Just in terms of the number of people who cared, i.e., like maybe I should get a Panther example. There was just more of that, or or the historical pieces make a little more. They're a little more important. So I saw some of that. We'll see if it stays though. I'm not sure about the staying power on that stuff, but.
You think there's a dude sitting in his office? You know how like in the fine arts market, they've got like a guy that they send out to, they don't even really know like who to curate their art that they put on their walls. And they're just like, hey, Bob, go get me some comic book art. And dude goes out there and like, here's $1 million. And I picture that. I
think that could absolutely
villainy,
happen. Yes.
Just straight up villainy. Like that's what I picture.
I think that could absolutely happen. Yeah. You know what I mean? I've heard and seen that this thing does well for people. So go do it for me.
Yeah. There's a sight unseen, hasn't seen it. He's just sitting there on his office chair, stroking his white cat. There's some of this comic art I've heard about.
Yeah.
Well, there's definitely a lot of some of the auction houses, I think, go out of their way to let people who are not collecting art these days, they're trying to convert them to art collectors if they have money. So I think there is a lot of that. It's not necessarily the guy with the cat instructing his servant to go out and do that. But I think that there's a lot of people saying, hey, this is a good place. This is almost as good as gold, right? At the end of the day. Right. And a lot of people who invested money would always invest their money in tangible goods like gold and silver and that. Well, all of a sudden, comics and the original comic art market, they're the next gold, at least for people who are willing to diversify in some weird way. So yeah, I think the guy with the cat is out there.
I think he's out there.
And I think that there's a lot of people vying for his attention.
Yeah.
And and it does trickle into the OA market without question.
Yeah, so. Jeff says 100% there is. Eranga common is still much cheaper than many other types. Bootlegging says there have to be art consultants out there in our space by now.
It's got to be.
Right? I want that job. Can I do that?
I know.
I can say I've actually thought of that because as often as I get emailed about from new buyers and things, I thought, wow, that would be a job right there. It's just helping people find art, and guys do that. I mean, well, that's what dealers do when they help find. They're already out there, right? So, but just promoting it. I mean, what a better vehicle than CAF to be able to put just an ad out there. Let me help you curate your comic art collection. For this fee. I'll do it for just a couple percentage points on the art on what you spend.
Yeah,
but wouldn't that be fun? Here are my
credentials. You can just make up your credentials too,
Right. Well, but it's a new world, right? I mean, I'm sure
exactly.
Across, so wow, we don't want to give too many people ideas out there.
I think that train has passed. There's someone creating a resume right now.
Right. Well, anyway, I'm not going to go down too many paths there, but yeah,
later.
What about, John? We have gone so far off topic.
Sorry, John.
Really?
No, I appreciate all the insight. That's one of the kind of I felt that topic would have a lot of different opinions, and it generated a lot of discussion. So I valued everybody's input on that.
That's cool. And John, somebody mentioned earlier here you have like the nice, serene, kind of nice background there with the plants and.
My wife is during COVID, she got into plants. So we kind of balance each other out. I got more into original art and I let her get into her plants. So unfortunately.
Her hobby sounds a whole lot less expensive, John. How did you pull this off?
I have one plant right here, the mini group back here.
I missed that, yeah.
Wait, here, I have to. Oh, there, you're right.
There it is. Yeah. Yes, there it is.
Does he dance?
Yeah, he might. Let's see if he still has battery. My
John, Jill was asking about you.
Oh, wait, is it? Oh, yeah. Look at that.
Nice.
He sure does. Yes.
Nice.
A first on the show. A dancing group.
There's the music.
Oh, man, I'm going to get hit by YouTube for that copyright infringement.
Oh.
They'll be like, you have to cut that section out of the video or mute this. That's all right, though. We were all laughing.
Well, it's funny, you guys. I should share this. So right behind me, there, you see this kind of horse. It's a Native American. It's American Indian art. So I have some of this, we have some of this in the house. The comic art stays in one room. Obviously, my stuff, and my wife put it's Halloween, right? So yesterday she put some web thing over that, and on the other side here you see some orange and black. That's more Halloween stuff. So that's what we got going right now. But we do get some art that's not just the stuff we get.
Very nice.
Very cool.
Let's see. Who did I have up next? Oh, Kahlil. Kahlil, I've got you on the art topic. But John, thank you so much. I'm sorry we kind of wiggled around your topic a lot, but it was fun. No, you got it started. You got everybody riled up.
Mission accomplished.
Yes, exactly. All right, Kahlil. Let's see your first artwork here.
Okay, so John and I were talking about, I think earlier this week about, some newer artists that are maybe not as known yet, up and coming. And this is Dani, I think Dani. I think she went by Dani Strips at some point, but she's been doing a lot of indie work and just recently been doing some stuff for DC, Wonder Woman, Superman recently. But she does this negative space like work that's just gorgeous. I mean, it's just striking. I guess that's the word I would use when I see it. So this is an unpublished example. I think this is in Alan Hamilton's gallery, a commission of Daenerys Targaryen from the Game of Thrones. And you can see how she is in white, and you see her eyes there and her hand. And then you have the smaller dragon and then the bigger wings in the background. I was just like blown away by the execution. I think Dan commented on this saying, move over, Frank Miller, like watch out for her. So it's just, you can see a lot of examples on CAF. I've got something on the way from her, but I just love how uniquely stylized it is and how much it's her when you see her stuff. And again, I love these artists too, where simple is not the right word, right? But it's simpler in terms of not a ton of rendering, not a ton of lines, but it's no less, but it's more effective because of it, I feel. So that's one of my picks this week.
Wow, that's beautiful. Does she do published work? I'm not familiar with the artist, but
yeah, she does some. It's mostly been independent so far, but she just very recently started doing some stuff for DC.
Great. Oh, great. Like you said, the negative space execution is excellent, kind of contrasting with just the black and white and how the dragons incorporated. Kind of gives me that feel. I know recently in the past few months, kind of Patrick Gleason has been doing some Spider-Man covers where he incorporates the web, and that kind of set off a trend with him. But the way this was executed with the dragon is just amazing. Great pick, Kahlil.
Yep, and Alan is here. Alan, looky here. Yes, sir. I meant to send you a note ahead of time, but I'm glad you're here. This is a great piece. She does some Harley Quinn, Blade Runner covers. That's what's actually on the way for me. I have a cover from a Blade Runner book she did come in at some point.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a fan of her work, man. I mean, it's people will look at this and some people tend to say like this stuff can be a little bit like simplistic, where it's not. Like the design sense needed to pull off something like this is incredible. She's supremely skilled.
Yeah.
This is one of those pieces I want to see in person because I want to know how she managed to do like those individual strands of negative space hair.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic selection there, Kahlil. All right, the second artwork.
So this is Aaron Cooter. I think some of Aaron's stuff has shown up on the weekly updates from time to time. Oh, yeah. But he's an artist that I think kind of got bigger with DC, but he's been working with Marvel for a number of years now, and he has that I think that Jeff Darrow line work that on some of his pieces, there's literally no shading, no rendering, and it just looks great, like Jeff's does. But in other pieces, kind of like this, he'll highlight only certain parts where he actually fills in some blacks and some inks. And then in the background, you can see some ink wash there. I just, he's continued to get better and better. And on this piece, I'm just very impressed with his line work and obviously the movement in the background. And the top, you see there's kind of a big space there. And I'm not sure, I kind of wonder if that was deliberate or not. Part of me feels that it was, because you get the sense of movement by the fact that the two characters are more near the bottom of the board. So yeah, it's just a Simon K posted this recently. I have some of Aaron's stuff too, but yeah, he's a real talent. And like I said, I think, in that Jeff Darrow kind of vein.
Yeah, the line work, he captures it perfect. This piece has that dynamic feel. You can kind of feel the blood splashing through the air with the way he rendered it with the line work in the back. So beautiful piece.
I think like the great thing about Aaron is like he knows when to kind of hit the pause button on where to detail and what to detail and when to detail it. Yeah. It's not that he doesn't have those tools in his arsenal. He absolutely does. But he darkened the background here, so you don't really need to add like a ton of shadow, either to you look at God, I don't know, that's a Squadron Supreme character, right? On the bottom.
Yeah, Hyperion,
that's right. You could have gone in and added like a bunch of shadow in his cape, because there should be some kind of cast shadow there. But you don't feel like it's missing here, because it's the image is perfectly balanced. He knows when to hold back and when to cut loose. Love his work.
Yeah.
I think he did a great job. I don't think this piece would be as effective if he put like buildings in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Or it is a much more effective piece how he chose to do the ink wash, because it only adds to the movement and helps explain what's going on here better than I think a lot of traditional backgrounds would, like some traditional backgrounds that a lot of artists would pick for a scene like this. So I think it's great. The composition's great.
But when I think about the movement, his left hand is kind of stabbing down along with the lines in the background, while his right is almost swiping towards the top, where you can see the blood kind of coming off. I don't know, it's effective.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. He's used the ink wash as speed lines without actually having to draw speed lines, which is really neat.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, this was just posted last week, so I was looking for one that was pretty recent. So yeah, that was it.
I hadn't been in Simon's gallery in a while, so I was actually checking that out while we were looking at that. I should remind everybody, in the description of the show, there are the links to all the artworks that we have that we're talking about tonight. So definitely check the art out later on today, this evening, and also check out the overall gallery, because that's CAF is all about discovery, right?
Right. And I didn't think about this, but someone just mentioned how Denny is repped by Cadence. So is Aaron. So both those artists that I just featured, they're repped by Cadence. Yeah. We
talk a lot about Cadence's artists.
Yeah.
How does that work? I don't know. Well, hey, that's good for them. Good for them.
Kahlil just got 15% off his next art order.
That's right. Now I know why. Man. You guys had an angle that I didn't know about.
Subtlety is not my strong suit, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, a couple of great picks there. So, Jill, you get to carry us on with the fourth and final topic of this.
All right, I'll back clean up for you, Bill. No problem. So, and by the way, Eranga, Tom Brady is now in the red zone. Just saying. We were talking about football updates earlier. I was sitting here with my phone pinging for fantasy, and
it was. My phone was just like, what is going on? Antonio Brown need a touchdown.
I need touchdowns in the worst way. I'm so anyway. That is not my topic for collector conversations. I mean, if we wanted to talk about football, we could. But the reason why the background is different than what I normally do is that my topic this time is art buying triggers. And when to lean in and when to avoid, and do definitely want to hear the panel's opinions about this, because I think with everything that went on with COVID and everything opportunities that opened up, art that became available, that you could potentially get art or commissions from artists that you wouldn't normally if they don't travel to your area for conventions. And the reason why I don't normally sit in this space and talk to you guys on these conversations, because this is my office and I'm back to working from home again. I was back in the office a little bit. Now I'm back to working from home. So sometimes on a Sunday, it's not necessarily the room I want to sit in, because I sit in this room so much throughout the entire week. So, but also to talk about buying triggers and just, talking about what some of mine are. And then I'm curious to hear what the rest of your guys' triggers are. Mine really came about with COVID and having to spend so much time at home. You're not, you might go pick up some food, but you're not really going out to eat. You're not traveling. That's picking up a little bit more, but I don't think that we're back yet to the amount of travel that folks were once doing. Your normal summer vacation probably got canceled. So what do you turn to? You turn to that retail therapy sometimes, right? You turn to that dopamine hit that you could get from going online and, eBay Heritage, Instagram, I don't care what it is, whatever your particular site of choice to look at art. And so that's why I wanted to talk to you guys about this. And for my particular triggers, a lot of times it would be a midweek slump. It'd be a Wednesday, already been working at home hard for 3 days straight. Just need some kind of lift, something that, you can kind of control in your life. And what can you control? Things you buy. So actually the bottom row behind me are all COVID purchases, which I wouldn't trade them. I love them. Don't get me wrong. I paid to frame them. But, and there's a poison ivy behind me. But was curious about what you guys think about buying triggers and what makes you think about buying art, and how have your triggers changed over the years too?
I would say, I'm grateful for a lot of friendships I made entering the hobby, veterans and new collectors alike, like James Siegel, for instance. I think we both started collecting around the same time, and kind of James very social, so he invited me to a few Facebook groups similar. And I would say our groups are like the opposite of Alcoholics Anonymous. So like we encourage each other, and every time he sees like a X-Men villain or a good villain splash, he'll send me a message. And I think those connections I've made in the group really have triggered some great purchases. So I think we're what's the term? We're enablers of each other.
Enablers. That was good.
Yeah, remember, John? We were on that chat. I felt, I raised up my Captain America shield and said, "Enablers, enable," like the assemble thing, because that's what we do, man. That's 100% what we do.
Yeah. I don't know if I necessarily have a specific trigger when it comes to things like that. It's more like it's been a couple of weeks and a package hasn't arrived at the house, right? So it's definitely the right. It's like, what is going on here? Like,
like this.
Yeah, like we have, like I do have like a panel on our front door, so you can see through it, the glass panel. And like my wife will occasionally find me just like staring as the UPS truck drives by and not stopping. Just like, yeah, it's like the rain in the back. I don't know. It's sad. It's I think about it, and it's there is an aspect of it that's not normal, that you can't explain to people that don't do it. I mean, your significant other or whatever that may be. Like but we are going to John's point. Being in these groups that I'm in right now, like their triggers for sure. Like it's not even because like they're encouraging you, which they are. I mean, it's a very supportive kind of environment, but you see someone just like flex something new that they bought, and you're like, I haven't bought something in a while. Like, yeah, what's that? $500? Sure. And and then it kind of goes into you walk into a day with like the best intentions. I'm not gonna spend anything this week. I'm gonna wait till I know X and Y is coming up. Whether that's I'm going to Baltimore later this month, so I want to be conscious of that and have like a list of what I want to do. Meanwhile, yesterday something pops up and somebody's like, "Hey, check this thing out." And I was like, "Well, I can buy that too." And you go in and you're like, "Yeah, here you go." And suddenly they're like, "Oh, that went from my Baltimore fund." Okay, cool. So I gotta. I don't know. Trigger is definitely the right word. I don't know if there's necessarily like a specific thing where a hard day doesn't trigger it for me. a long date is a trigger for me. It's a lot more than that, I think, which makes my problem a lot bigger. Is if I could identify the triggers, I could probably address it, but it's everywhere. Yeah.
Eranga, come sit on my couch. I think we might need to have a conversation.
Let's do it. Let's do the therapy.
Let's identify it. They're probably there, even if it's unconscious to you.
Absolutely. Let's pick this monster apart.
Well, for me too, it's like I kind of like that. The problem is I gotta keep this stuff in its place, right? I mean, Bill, you've got a show every night almost that I'd love to be on, but I can't necessarily do that, right? There's Sundays, there's Saturdays, there's Instagram, there's the Facebook chats I'm on. So I love that there's all this art because I love that. I love this stuff in general, right? But I got to find a way I got to make sure I kind of keep it, the time to a certain amount on this stuff, which is, I'd say it's a great problem to have because I love hearing from my friends in terms of what they're getting, sharing things that are out there that you probably wouldn't have found yourself. That's all great. To Ranga's point, you do feel like sometimes, man, I got to look into this, that, and the other. Where I feel like the trigger is there's a lot of art that is going to be pretty pricey for me now that I might want to get, and I'm happy with some of those pricier pieces now. Where I've gotten a lot of energy, I feel, is in some of the newer folks. And looking for those pieces or that right piece that I don't have from someone yet, right? And seeing what others post and all that, that's a nice kind of energy to have, that kind of diversification of going outside of what I traditionally kind of have done. And to me, that's fun. I mean, that's great. But I agree, it's not a long day. It's not this, that, or the other. It's really being exposed to some nice stuff and wanting to be a part of it. You know what I mean? Wanting it in my house. So, right. I mean, it's like I say, it's a good problem to have. But yeah, it's tough sometimes. I do have this. Someone mentioned here, it's a hell of a drug. And you remember that old Rick James skit, Dave Chappelle?
Heck yes.
Yeah. OA is a hell of a drug.
Hell of a drug. Yeah. Yeah.
For sure.
Since we're getting kind of, into the therapeutic nature of this, there was a time it's been about a few months ago, maybe earlier this year, right? Like kind of when we thought the pandemic was, we were on the other side of it before, shenanigans multiplied. But there was a time where I really had to take a good look at my buying habits and say, how much of this is stuff that I'm buying that actually, sparks joy, or, how much of it am I still looking at it, down the line? And I found that we talked about this a little bit. There was an aspect of keeping up with the Joneses to what I was doing after a while. It was, oh, such and such got this. I mean, I can get that, or such and such got this. And it felt like I was making new targets for myself that weren't necessarily organic or that fit my collecting habits or stuff like that. I was just kind of going with the flow and okay, I guess this is what we all should have. And fortunately, I wasn't in that mode for a long time. I was able to pump the brakes on that and say, what, let's get back to the crux of why I collect and what I collect and start streamlining this. Yeah. It was a problem for a while. Yeah, I think I'm on the other side of it now, though.
Yeah, well, this is definitely an element of that, right? For me, I think a few of us talk about taking solace in what you have and making sure you appreciate what's already in house. I mean, that's so important, right? So I try to keep that top of mind. And actually, the three of you are partially responsible for me in a good way, getting kind of re-energized about the commission front. I'm not going full bore at it, but I've been impressed with some of the things y'all have brought, and it's not just from the bigger name folks, right? I mean, and just liking what you're seeing. So yeah, I mean, that's to your point, Eranga. It's nice to there's the keeping up with the Joneses aspect, but then there's also wow, maybe I should have that, not just because he or she has it, but that's beautiful. I didn't know about it before, so I want to do. I think I want to get in on that. So as long as you can differentiate that for yourself, you know what I mean?
Right.
Easier said than done.
Absolutely.
There is something about getting in on the ground floor, right? Like I have some art from this person before they really hit it big, and look what they were doing at this point in time. And so it's a little bit of that, I think, too, that triggers me, as well as we're talking about trying to find different artists, trying to find somebody I don't have a piece from, and whether it's commissioned or published. I mean, I've got published stuff too, if you want to go look in my terribly organized calf gallery, Kahlil. But I think that's a big piece of it too. Just trying to seek out some of the newer great talent, and I think we've shared some great pieces that fall into that category tonight from some of those artists.
Yeah. Hey Bill, what that reminds me? What would be cool in calf? Because I have to give you a suggestion, right? I'm here tonight.
I got my pen.
Like if I were to say Bill Cox Thor, and just see Bill's Thor pieces. I don't know if that's doable. You know what I'm saying? Sorry.
Anything's doable. But
sorry.
Well,
sorry.
we've never. Well, I mean, one thing that we need to add is a collector search, right? So you can just type my name in and find me, right? Versus having to drill around and try to find me. That's always been a problem, but it never was a problem until we had 15, 16, 17,000 gallery owners, right? When it never, and so that's why we never had a way to search based on an owner. And we don't even have a search inside your own gallery, which we certainly need to add, and actually can be done. I mean, we do it over on Comic Art Shop, where if you're a premium member and you have a shop over there, you can search an individual shop. So it's not like it's out of our range of being able to add a cool feature into your calf gallery. You can just go in and say, show me everything from Black Panther and Kahlil's gallery. Boom, I get the whole list. It's like it's as good as tags almost. But
right.
But I hear what you're saying. I've just avoided it because you'd probably get it's always an exact match. And if I didn't have any Thor in my calf gallery, you'd get nothing. If you were searching calf for that. But then at the same time, you could own a Rip Kirby, and your name is, well, that's it would happen. Well, and your name is Jack, and so when someone's like searching for Jack Kirby, then your thing comes up and it has no relevance to Jack Kirby whatsoever. So I don't know that, you know what I mean? It's so integrating a calf collector's name into the search, I think probably wouldn't be the way I'd do it, but it's not a bad idea. I mean, it reminds me of all the other things that I should be doing.
Well, I can say, so I can look up Apocalypse JN80 and make offers on his pieces, right? Like something like that. We do share love in that character in common. Yeah. I did want someone did mention here real quick that you need to have a collecting circle that's in that same budget range, and I think that there's something to that. Right? Because you're talking about similar stuff. I do feel though that I like the conversations on the higher and the lower, and I like kind of being part of all of it. But that is helpful to know folks that are into similar stuff, buying similar stuff, similar.
As long as you have a sense of grounding for yourself, like hey, yes, I'm hanging out with this group, but that's not what I do. I like doing it too. I'm definitely not like a high, throwing a bunch of money at stuff, but like I like speaking with people that do, because I learn a lot about the hobby and about the history of the hobby, the things that are going on. You want to be informed. And whereas if you only hung around with, people that just bought commissions or the other way around, I think it goes both ways. I think people that buy just, OA do learn things from, because you are looking at the artists who will be big in the future and stuff like that. It does go both ways. I don't think I'm going to take exception to that. I think you need to have a diverse group of,
that's what I mean,
collecting friends.
It's nice to have that, but I enjoy the conversations all across the whole, I guess, spectrum, if that's what you want to call it. I hate to kind of pigeonhole it to like dollars because we're talking about art here, but I agree in the sense that you can find great art all along it. You know what I mean?
No, I didn't take exception with yours. I took exception with the comment, because the comment was stay with your people.
Bill takes exception with someone who's constantly signed out every time they open a new page, right, Bill?
Well, I was just going to comment on that when there was a break. So yeah, Mr. Ewok, you think you're allowing cookies in your web browser, but you're not. And if it's not your web browser that's blocking the cookies, you have some security software that you have to say trust comicartfans.com So it will allow you to actually accept the cookie. So it's one or the other. It's either your browser or it's your security software that's blocking me storing a cookie that allows me to keep you logged in. So
you gotta leave Internet Explorer behind, Mr. Ewok One.
Yeah, there's certain browsers that are worse. And Firefox is kind of bad, and because it's all about user security and that sort of thing. So they make it really hard for you to to function, right? I mean, they disable JavaScripts across the internet. So some people go in and they're like, why is there this big blank space on the side? And they don't realize ad blocker is blocking out half a calf, so they can't see certain things. And but that's definitely the problem there. It's almost always one or the other. And typically it's actually you just updated your virus software and it's decided not to trust calf. So.
I don't know. Maybe that's smart.
I was about to say,
Right.
We are talking about triggers and spending too much money. I mean,
yeah. How do we keep
maybe that's how you
in
protect
place?
yourself, Mr. Ewok One.
Make calf, make calf easy,
Right.
more difficult to get to.
Because if comic art is a
spouses
drug,
can send me money and I can set it so that certain people can't stay logged in. If that's what they would like, you want your spouse to stop spending money on calf or hanging out for very long periods of time. I can fix that. So we actually have things built in the calf ones. Like if somebody is giving me a hard time or something and I don't want to delete their account, I have a way to kind of make calf be like totally inoperable for them. They can get there, but they can't do anything. And I only do that. I have that power. I think I've only exercised it maybe 3 times in 15 years, just for whatever issue. And I can't even remember what the last one was, but it's there. So just remember that. Don't get on my bad side. It won't last long because you'll email and be like, "What I do?" And then we work it out. But yeah, that's out there. It's a lot of like different trapping things I've had to put in there for people who sign up for calf and then want to use it to spam people. There's a limit for the first 30 days of your calf life. There's a limit on the number of emails you can send out every day, and that's to prevent somebody coming in and sending out Russian bride, things or whatever. And so because it's happened, I hate waking up in the morning and getting and finding that they started in the A's and if they got the CO, as far as I'm like, man, they've already emailed 5,000 people or 4,000 people about this thing. I'm in trouble. So we put that kind of programming in place that I can override. But yeah, I have a few security measures like that. Now we're way off topic again. Darn gone it.
We're gonna get back to the topic and say like comic art is a drug and Bill Cox is our dealer.
That's right. Yeah, that's very true.
That's right.
I'm a pusher. And with dueling dealers, right? So there's a little bit of twinges of guilt I have every once in a while about it.
That's right.
But I know that we're all having fun doing it. So I don't feel.
I will say, y'all type Eranga into the search, and you'll see some of his art. I don't know if y'all know he dabbles a little bit here, Mr. Man. So yeah, type that in. You'll see some of the stuff he does. Mine is on the way. Mine is on the way.
Mine, man, get on that.
Yeah, my piece is on the way. I haven't talked to him about it yet, but
it'll
be done in no time.
You are now.
Oh man. Well, another fantastic topic, Jill. Thank you. Even though we've went way off topic, but a lot of fun. This has been the theme of the night. This has been a great conversation. I want to have this squad back as a team, at a later date. But I think we work well together. This was really.
We'll figure the name out.
Yes. But Eranga, you get to actually close the night by giving us your 2 artworks.
Okay.
Oh, you were froze there for a second. I got really worried.
Oh, did I really? Oh, yeah.
No,
Don't jinx this. Don't jinx this night, Bill.
I've
actually gotten through this.
I'm not gonna Kahlil this. Don't worry, guys.
I've gotten through it.
We're not going to Kahlil. Yeah, you did Kahlil. All right, first artwork.
Oh, so I leaned into nostalgia because usually I'm trying to like put like some newer artists out there, but this is Avengers 365. It's a DPS, and it's of course Steve Epting, inked by the awesome Tom Palmer, and it's in the gallery of Kirk Dilbeck. This era of the Avengers kind of really speaks to me because it it was earlier on in this iteration of the team that I started reading, and it was all just a bunch of B-list characters. It was, Black Knight, Cersei, Black Widow, Crystal from the Inhumans, the Vision, and they all wore leather jackets, which I thought was dope. So this was like that era. But specifically, when I saw this, the original piece in Kirk's gallery, it kind of struck me that how awesome it is to see art in its original incarnation, because seeing this on a comic page, it's so hard to appreciate the fact, like you look at the screen tones that are used here, either for like Widow's costume or some of the electronic components that are laid out there. Those are things that you don't necessarily see when you're reading a comic book, but you kind of you look at a piece of original art, and it's great that you get to kind of dive into that and see those details. Steve's a great. He doesn't get as much credit for being like a draftsman. And you look at this, it's not an easy thing to pull off here, this command center that he's got going on, because you really do have like 3 levels that you're working with. You got the elevated level that Widow's in. You got that sunken level that Vision's in, and then you got that mid-level that Black Knight is in. So he's pulled it off great in not just the perspective, but not skimping on any of that background. The last thing I'll mention about this is that screen that Black Widow is looking at. I wish that I could like see how it was done, because I believe it's done exclusively with white ink. So the background was already drawn, and that grid pattern that's on that screen is all just hand inked in white. So I thought it was a really cool spread from an era that I have a ton of nostalgia for, and love Epting and Palmer's a legend.
Yeah, beautiful choice. The perspective was throwing me off a little bit at first when I saw the piece earlier today when I made the slide, but I love it. I mean, it's a beautiful approach to this, and because the Vision underneath Black Widow threw me. At first at the image, I'm like, why is he so small? But no, it's amazing, and I'd love to see the published piece.
Yeah. Maybe Kirk will be nice enough to, just send it to me so I can just take a look at it, just see how the screen was done, and I'll send it back to him. That should be good.
Kirk has a very nice collection.
He does.
It's pretty cool.
He does. Yeah.
I mean, it's the overall composition and the depth, the layers. I agree, that impressed me. That screen up top, that's crazy. And look, is that the Black Knight at the bottom left?
It sure is. Dane Whitman.
I mean, that's a 90s Black Knight if I've ever seen it, man. Look at the sleeves, the is it the pouch on his suspenders?
Oh yeah. He's got.
Look at that haircut. Look at that haircut.
Come on, man. Of course. He usually wears that up in like a top knot. It's he's not wearing his jacket because sun's out, guns out. But
I mean, don't you I think sometimes pieces that just kind of they scream the era, right? Like this screams of that time, which is cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at every character there. Like that's Hercules. So you see Captain America on the bottom right there, yeah, and like right above him, head turned, is Hercules. So he's wearing like a Rambo style headband. He's got like hair and like a wife beater on. That's Hercules. Yeah. So great era, man. I mean, I look at it and it's bonkers, but you gotta love it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the details are amazing. You can just spend like a half hour looking at everything, especially like you said, Hercules. I'm not sure if he's playing like Atari Missile Command on that last screen there, seeing kind of all the different planets.
Right.
Amazing detail.
Yeah, no shortcuts taken here.
Yeah, it looks like Missile Command to me. I played a lot of that in the arcade back in the 80s.
Someone said in the comments, like, who's playing Galaga?
Good old Marcus.
And someone said that's Snake Plissken down at the bottom left there.
I can totally see it, right? Yeah.
Right. There's a Vision sitting at a Miss Pac-Man table. There you go. A slice of pizza on that table.
I was thinking that too. We had one of those at my dentist's office when I was a kid, and it's just like totally taken me back. But this is great. This is so that era. What about the hipsters, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is I need more of this. I'm gonna go back and unpack these books and start reading them again, just because.
Well, very nice pick. And here is your second.
Yeah, like I said, leaned into nostalgia. This is like 13-year-old Eranga who thought this was absolutely bonkers and amazing. This is a cover to Ghost Rider 2099. It's the cover to number 8. It's by Chris Bachalo, and it's in the gallery of Ivan R. Like I said, 13-year-old me thought this was incredible, and I'm a huge fan of Chris's work. I specifically loved this era because it felt to me like he was finding his way. I believe he was working on Sandman and Death before GR 2099, and I think it was after he worked on this book that he went on to Gen X. I might be messing with that timeline a little bit, but he went into a little bit of a more refined path once he got onto Gen X, and then right now he's on a different level. Right now, he's a little bit more loose with his work, but it was on this title that I first noticed Chris's work. It's a real cyberpunk kind of book at a weird time. Basically, the story is this guy Kenshiro is a hacker. And when he gets killed, his mind gets downloaded into the body of this robot who kind of looks like Ghost Rider. So he becomes like the Ghost Rider of 2099. I probably butchered that origin, but that's what I remember. But I remember the heck out of this cover. He was taking a lot more risks at the time. See a lot of the white that he's used in there, along with the large swaths of black and dry brush in the background. Yeah, I mean, what do you want? His mind was downloaded into a killer robot who can shoot beams out of his eyes, and he can manifest an electric chainsaw out of his hand. Super cyberpunk. It's basically what if the Terminator became Ghost Rider. Yeah. So there's nothing like I don't have like a ton of exposition to go with this. It's just a cool image that brings back a lot of nostalgia for me and Chris's work.
That's cool. Hey, Eranga, how are the arms done? Like, did he have a black backwash done and then like draw in white?
He kind of almost had to, right? Like if you look at the bottom there, you see the white fades out, and it fades out because he'd already put the black down in the background.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah, he just probably used a white gel pen on it. He's put a little bit of white spatter on the bottom as well. But it's really cool, man. I mean, I love seeing guys who are kind of coming into their own in that era.
But you know what's funny too? You mentioned that, Eranga. Like after the image guys left, right? It was like all these artists would come in. They say draw like them. Yep. And they were, but then they were experimenting a little bit, like to draw like themselves. And you see where they are now versus where they were then. You know, better, worse, and different. It was just cool seeing that progression, right?
Right.
I mean, this guy, Bachalo, Churchill, even Epting, a lot of those guys.
I mean, they started out being told to draw a certain way, and then they found, and some of these guys found their own voice way quicker than others did. And once they did, I mean, they just blew the lid off the joint there. Chris is one of those guys, but I just have a fondness for this era of Chris's work. Cool. This Death, High Cost of Living, I believe, and the early Gen X stuff.
Great picks.
Yes.
Thanks.
All right. Well,
it was an ode to teenage me. Both my selections. That's all it was.
Oh, teenage me, yes.
Teenage me.
Hey, Eranga, when's your birthday?
March 3rd. What are you guys getting me?
June 2nd here. No, it's for the people on the chat. So mine is June 2nd. Aranga's is March 3rd. 1979 is when we were born. So we'll put our addresses here in the comments in a bit.
I see where you're going. I see. I couldn't figure out where you were going, Kahlil, but I'm with you. I'm with you now.
I just wanted to let John Brown, who is the only person on Facebook watching from Facebook, that you need to hang out with the other people on YouTube. That's where all the cool kids are hanging out. I will broadcast to both Facebook and YouTube, but YouTube is where all the fun is. So that's where all the fun chat is going on. So yeah, you're all there by yourself. But join us over on YouTube. We'll have a lot more fun. I guarantee it.
Come on over, John.
Exactly. All right. So again, this was a fantastic group. I think we should do this again as a set sometime again in the future. Whenever you guys and gals are ready for another chat, let me know, and or James, we'll set that up. Cool. I actually have a busy week, as Kahlil was saying. I've been doing a lot of live streams, but I've got a whole bunch coming up. So I actually wanted to just remind everybody what I've got coming up, so that because it is a little overwhelming. I've got a show tomorrow night, and with Anthony and Mike, $500 will be what is it? 1 through 6 is going to be 500 or less, and then 7 through 12 will be 1,000 or less. We decided to do it on a Monday just because of the whole New York Comic Con thing, and Anthony is going to be busy setting up on Wednesday, so we thought we'd do a low end show and send him on his way. Then on Tuesday, I've got an interview with Michael Finn. That's Michael 1 minute later over on CAF. If you've ever been to his CAF gallery, not only does he have an amazing collection of commissions, but he also has a fantastic vintage art collection as well. And then he's huge into the 50s, and so we're going to talk about his collection and just a lot of things that he's been doing over the last couple of years. And I'm losing my voice. So that's Tuesday. And man, I'm dying here. Somebody take this over for me. Thursday, I've got Simone Bianchi and Ken Lashley will be on the show with me, hanging out from wherever they're at, because they're not going to be at the Metropolis Gallery, which Micah will be at. But we're going to be. They have a gallery opening there on Friday, and so Metropolis asked me if I wouldn't mind having Simone and Ken drop by for a little while, and I said sure, why not? So we're going to do at the beginning of the CAF update. I'll be hanging out with them and Micah, probably doing a little walkthrough of the gallery to start the show off. I think that's going to be really fun. I don't get to do shows like that too often, so that'll be pretty cool. And then I've got Friday off. Yeah, and then Saturday is that Raiders of the Lost Art show, which I guarantee you will be fun. Berkey and I have hand-selected 50 artworks to sell, and we it's no memes, but we've got like a little intro to the show that'll be fun, I think, for everybody. So we tried to make something interesting out of it. But at any rate, great show this evening, and thanks to everybody for tuning in. And I think we peaked at just over 90, so it was a good turnout between YouTube and Facebook this evening. Good,
share, subscribe.
Yes,
that's right. Yeah, where was Nick Perucci when we needed him? Right,
he is never around when I'm on this show.
He's a busy guy.
May not be a coincidence.
Now it's a pattern. It's a pattern.
All right. Well, I have a call this week with Nick, so I will definitely talk to him about whatever. What's your problem with Eranga? You
let him know. Yeah, please. We can work it out. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, again, fantastic show. Thank you so much, and we'll be back here next Sunday for sure. And I hope to see everybody at some of these other shows that I just listed, later this week.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
Have a great time.
Great time.